we are the human resources that mined for gold. This is the basis for the white light program that people see at their death when they are welcomed by the false representation of their loved ones. This is nothing more than an afterlife program written by the false alien gods who control every one of us who lives on this planet, since the gods cannot use us as battery energy and eat us at the same time. It's literally a perfect trap. Most especially because it sounds so crazy to nearly everyone that everything said here is either ignored, scoffed at, or met with anger and hostility.
So we've all seen the crazy old conspiracy videos that dive down rabbit holes and leave us questioning everything. One video in particular is entitled The Golden Web that features a lot of quotes that I still use today. It goes deep into the etymology of many English words and various other languages as well, but it goes into the root and the double and triple meaning behind them and how they may have deeper, much deeper meanings than we really expect. So grab a drink and get comfy because this one is a doozy. Let's get into it.
What is definition? Is it simply the determining or settling of something? Or a statement of the meaning of a word or a word group? Or is it something else? Is it also a definition? Perhaps it is more along these lines. Because the Phoenicians and the Canaanites have defined the way that we speak and the way that we listen or hear each other. To be a deaf Phoenician means that one stops at what the words are defined as in the dictionary and doesn't look into the deeper etymology or the phonics of what the word is actually saying. It is my intent to give you, the listener, a key that has been hidden by the secret societies of the world, such as the Knights Templar. In fact, Templar is actually Spanish for key.
So before we get too far into this, he gives a pretty decent heads up there. I want to further emphasize, after watching this, you may not see words the same again. I know I don't. I watched this many years ago, and it still impacts me how I see words and how I read them aloud and what I think of them and what I think they could really be or the potential. So just a heads up on this. It's going to get deep. Let's go.
Key is a means to open something that is locked. And once you have the key to unlock these secrets, everything will start to make sense in your life and this reality. To ensure that this key works, 4 things will need to be utilized. First, one has to understand the basic definitions of the word being looked at. Secondly, the etymology will have to be looked at as well, which is basically the study of the origins of the word. Thirdly, the phonics will have to be used, and this is where the Phoenicians are tied into phonics, thus Phoenicians, phonics. And that's where we get phoenix from, or talking on the phone. Thus, the Phoenicians gave us the word for phone and phony when someone sounds phony on a phone. Phonics are also how the words are heard towards us, such as the word see. When you look at it, it's either the letter C or sea as in an ocean, like a sea. And when we see with our eyes, I'm using the same word to describe different things. But when you understand the deeper levels of this, they actually all interconnect and tie together. Lastly, word splitting will be necessary. And that's basically where we take a portion of the word, such as the prefix or the suffix, and we look at alternate definitions within that, and to see if it links to other languages. And the word splitting itself can be brought down to basically nil, right down to the very letter. And this will be very important as well in our understanding. An easy example of word splitting can be given by using the word language, where we would have lan, gu, and age. When we take lan in its Chinese and Vietnamese context, it's actually the feminine name for orchid. But in Vietnamese, with an accent over the A, with lan, we actually have a different male context with a creature called the Kai Lan. And that was a dragon-type creature that was said to only protect the noble ones, and it was also known as the Ki Lin. Gu is the god of war in the Dahomey mythology. So now we have two tie-ins where we have a monster that protected the noble ones with Lan, and Gu, a god of war. So Lan Gu, and age is obviously through the ages of the zodiac, or how we age through this reality. So thus, Lan Gu ages, languages, would mean that we have a monster that protects the noble throughout the ages of the zodiac. So who or what exactly is that monster? Well, that's what we're going to find out. But first we have to do some more digging and go through some things that should be basic and general knowledge, but unfortunately is not, such as where the days of the week actually get their names from and what they actually represent. So Sunday, to start off, is actually representing the sun, obviously Sunday. And I'm going to tie this into one or two different languages. In the case of the days of the week, it'll actually be Romanian. And the French language actually is pretty close to the Romanian, but I'll stick with the former for now. In Romanian, Sunday is actually known as Duminica. Monday is the moon, and in Romanian, this is known as luni. Therefore, we have lunatic or a lunatic. Luna is another name for the moon, obviously. Tuesday is Mars Day, and the Romanian language reflects this with the word Marti, thus Marti Day or Mars Day. There was also a god named Tiu or Tiu's Day, and that's where the English language gets the word Tuesday from. He was also a god of war. Wednesday is Mercury's Day, and the Romanian language reflects this with the word Miercuri. In Anglo-Saxon paganism, the god for this day was called Wotan or Woden, thus Woden's Day or Wednesday. Thursday is Jupiter. The word in Romanian is Joi. In Norse mythology, Jupiter was known as Thor. This is why we have Thor's Day turned into Thursday. Friday is Venus, and their word is Veneri. The Galatian word for Friday is Venris, thus reflecting the tie-in to Venus a little more closely. Again, in Norse mythology, we have the goddess for Venus being called Freya. Therefore, we have Freya's Day, and now Friday. Saturday is Saturn's Day. That is pretty obvious just from the English language alone, Saturn Day, and the Romanian word for that is Sambata. It is really amazing that this basic knowledge is not taught in school. Basically, no one knows of these things and the astrology behind it, and it's going to be very significant to keep all of this in mind, and to also take note that there's no Earth Day. That's going to be very significant as we keep going along. Due to the large volume of information that is going to be presented for the rest of this video, I will not be providing many pictures, but will have you, the listener, almost entirely concentrate on the written words being shown while I speak. There is another reason for this. I do not want this information to simply be a form of infotainment. We are going to first look at the process of commerce as pertaining to the Phoenicians, who were known as the great merchants of the sea, and why this process, with all of its complex implications, continues unabated to this day, albeit for very sinister reasons, as will be shown. Let's first look at how one is born into the world, or whirled into the world. Why are we whirled? First off, from a pedantic perspective, this should be obvious since the world is whirled on its axis. The writers of the Matrix movies also knew why, because the main character Neo is actually derived from the Latin word neo, that means spin, weave, or produce by spinning. How this process works in our reality is similar to the way the colors on a DVD movie are read by the DVD player. Each color is separated and read at different intervals of time. This is an exact correlation to the different distances of each planet from the sun, and the different lengths of time each planet takes to whirl around its own axis while also being spun around the sun. The sun is the centrifugal force, which each body is forced to be pulled and pushed away from. This separation works in a 7-step process, which is why there are 7 major planets that give us the 7 days of the week. There are 7 notes in a mode of music, and we also see 7 colors in a rainbow. The symbolism of the rainbow alone is extensive and should be researched more deeply. The colors, sounds, and worlds that are whirled are all separated because the prefix sep comes from the Latin septuma, meaning 7, which gave the word September, which was originally the 7th month of the Roman calendar. There are 7 chakras within the human body that the ancients called the spinning wheels of light. This is appropriate because these colored wheels are whirled, and we live in a world of colors because we are humans. Hue is simply a word for color, and the quality of the colors determined by the dominant wavelength of each color. The Latin word ue literally means hither, and to this point place degree, indicating that it is the colors that resonate to a certain wavelength frequency and formulate the reality that we currently find ourselves in. There is an astounding amount of indication and evidence to show that we are multidimensional beings that are caught in a cycle of separation with a certain mathematical ratio of vibration waves holding us prisoner in a DVD movie-like loop. The ratio is the ration of the god Ra, Ra-Tio ratio, within this base 10 reality. 10 fingers and 10 toes, as the Swedish Tio states with the meaning of 10. The fake gods that hold us all prisoner also need to ration us because we are their food, and a ration is the food allowance given for one day. The separation that is given to the gods while we exist inside of this DVD matrix reality.
Okay, so now we're getting into some deeper stuff here. He is mentioning some esoteric beliefs and conspiracies that we see in different beliefs and concepts. This idea of using us as a resource is very prevalent. I think I just mentioned it in last night's video. It's practically a trope at this point. But nevertheless, it incorporates that, which is very believable to me and a lot of people. But either way, he does seem very well spoken. He articulates his words really well. He enunciates. He just seems to be a very intelligent individual. So he doesn't seem to be stumbling. Really, he's able to pronounce foreign languages fairly well from, my uneducated mind. It seems right anyway. But interesting presentation so far. Let's get back into it.
Matrix is furthermore the Latin word for womb, which is where our body ship is birthed or birthed. All ships find their birth when they reach the port or dock. When Neo woke up in the Matrix, he was inside a battery womb or iPod, which is why Apple Computers sells everyone iPods and iPads to reflect this. One definition of pad that concurs with this is that of a temporary living quarters. We are all living in our iPads or iPods because we bit the apple of sin. The word apple is also phonetically spoken as apple because our body ships are receiving a toe on the conscious dream line of reality, which is why we have a skull. A skull? Yes, because a scull is an oar that is used for sculling, and sculling is the propelling of a boat by an oar over the stern. When someone is commanded to do something and prodded in a certain direction, their instructor is said to be stern with them to get the point of the command across. And this point is usually finalized with a stated warning vocalized as, or else. The or else has a dual meaning. The first is obviously the metaphor of being towed in the body ship by time, which tows us in the skull. And the second is that we are commanded to follow the orders of the DVD storyline that has been handed to us, since we have become the property of the god known as El. Hence, do what I say, or else, indicating that if we do not follow the storyline, we will be punished by El. It is also no coincidence that the term sculling also has culling after the letter S. To cull something is to collectivize it, select the best or worst parts from it, and then pluck those parts. This is what is happening to every individual consciousness, and essentially no one is even aware that it's happening. Even as these things are told, they sound so fantastic that most likely they are either shirked off, ignored, or simply laughed at. Those are the typical responses of fear, especially in regard to substantial truths being told that are contained within the psyche of the collective subconscious mind of humanity. This psyche has been taken over by the ones who now tow us in the skull. We are towed in the skull because there is a toad in our mind that is towed around, thus pointing out the facet of our reptilian takeover, which is known as the R complex of the brain. This is also a whole study unto itself.
Deep stuff, yes. I can't remember if he gets too much into the reptilian topic there, if that's just literally the reptilian side of our brain where it's more animalistic and base, or if potentially it goes into something deeper, because he is talking about energy, people being used as an energy source, and that's commonly associated with the R words.
Every ship, including the human body, is eventually brought into port and is then docked. This is why there is a doctor that delivers the body ship, because it is a new liver being produced, another living being that is being delivered by the doctor as doctor. Hence, doctor is phonetically doctor. And you as the living human being are the ore that is going to be mined for gold in your mind, because mind is mind, giving us the actual basis for the Sumerian depiction of the Anunnaki coming here to mine for gold, because we are the human resources that mined for gold.
Okay, question has been solved. Questions answered there.
This also displays the fact that humans are seen as the chattel property of these false gods, since we are the ones they mine, and when someone states that something is theirs, they say that it's mine. We are the endless resource being mined, and companies do not have human resource departments because the title sounds fancy. You are also the ore, which has an oar, because you are the body ship that needs to paddle through this existence, which is a sea of electricity. Doctors use paddles to resuscitate someone who is in cardiac arrest for this reason. What do they use to resuscitate the patient? Electric currents, just like the sea that has currents. What else do doctors do? They perform surgery because it is an electrical surge to the body of the patient, thus surgery. The doctor is also the connection to the body ship and sea terminology, since the doctor has delivered the doctor, an oar that is sitting in its berth and no longer rowing. The one that is going to be sold as capital currency, which is electric and sea-like currency. You see? Take a look at this Hebrew word. Does it look familiar? Perhaps like Neo again? Well, in Hebrew, this translates into English as pin, and the Vietnamese word pin means battery. Taking this further, the Vietnamese language also has the word now, but it translates as anchor, because once a ship is docked, the anchor needs to be set down, therefore giving us the connections of Neo the battery, who was anchored in his matrix womb, being used as docked ore, the energy of electric gold making. This Hebrew word can also be spelled out as such, which can be written out as sukkah, and is phonetically pronounced as sukkah. This Hebrew term translates into English as thicket and booth or rude temporary shelter. The booth of Neo's iPod. Did you really think that it was just a movie? Again, the languages have been around for far longer than that Hollywood production came out, and I encourage everyone watching this to check out every single translation and word that is being presented. Like I said, this goes deep, and these examples are just the beginning. It would actually take many lifetimes to go through all of these connections in every single word in every language, not to mention the languages that are extinct and unknown. Once the human is birthed, they are also docked in by the docked hence docked What is It was an ancient Sumerian city that housed what was known as the ziggurat of also called Temen-Nigiru. This word meant house whose foundation creates terror. Everything in this reality is designed to make us fearful, and this starts right at birth. Interestingly enough, the patron deity of this city was the Akkadian moon god known as Sin, and it has been said over and over again to humanity that man is born in sin. Man bit the apple to then be continuously reborn in his and her Apple iPods, which becomes an unrepayable debt. What is the Merriam-Webster's #1 dictionary definition of the English word debt? Sin. To pay the debt of sin, which is the price of our birth and birth in the moon. Remember that the 7 days of the week do not include an earth day, since man is truly born in sin, the moon. The ancient accounts and stories of the man on the moon is literally about mankind in the moon. We are all the children in the attic, so to speak, and this will become clearer as we go along. First, we are born and begin to be used as battery energy, as the French language agrees, since the French word borne means pin, terminal boundary, stone, as associated with the Vietnamese word pen, meaning battery, and the Hebrew word is shown for pin. The stone that is the terminal boundary is the moon. This use of the word pin is the reason that banks get you to use a PIN number when using a bank card. Don't quite agree yet? Well, the Spanish word borne translates as terminal and point of a connection to a current of electricity. When people travel to and from airports or bus stations, where do they arrive and depart? At the terminal. When people vote, where do they do so? In a voting terminal or a polling station. In actuality, people are voting, not voting, because they are going to the polls, which are the electric battery poles of positive and negative, to place their votes on the candidate that they want to see put in charge. The politician that receives the most votes is the one that is going to be put into the position of power. It's not called power politics for nothing. So far, the listener might be saying to themselves, what? Precisely, what? A watt is a unit of power that is equal to 1 joule per second, and this correlates with the situations when people say that someone isn't very bright because they need to ask the same question over and over again. What? That person is said to be dim because they are not enlightened. You could, of course, refuse everything that is being shown, but that just creates a negative ionic polarity charge within your own biology, hence to refuse, because a fuse is an electrical device that can interrupt the flow of current if it becomes overloaded. I trust that this will not confuse the listener. Let's continue on.
So you're beginning to get, if not already, well understand, it's almost a talent to be able to weave the words in and out behind meaning, and how well it fits and it kind of connects just vaguely. Maybe you guys are understanding it a little bit more than me, but it has me just hooked enough and just understanding enough for I'm like, wow, that kind of seems Wow, is that profound? I don't know. Maybe. I think that's why I love these old conspiracy videos, because so much of it's like it's based so much on the speculation that if it's true, everything in life changes. And the concept of looking at these things objectively as if it were true in a world where it's evidently not. I mean, this is a stretch, I would say. I mean, some of this I'm sure is rooted in factuality, but a lot of this seems quite a stretch. But maybe everything he's saying is the truth and the word. I'm not sure. I'm curious. Is this legit to you guys? Let's keep going for now.
What is the definition of born? It is the past participle of the word bear, which is the reason that mothers are said to bear children. Children that arrive bare naked into this reality. By definition, to bear something is to also take on the debts of another person. What debts? The price of sin, of course. The price that one pays to be born in sin, the moon. The same moon that also came to rescue you from sin. This is why the Sumerian Anunnaki lord known as Enki said that the first things are the last things. We are born in sin, the moon, and we all die in sin, again the moon. This is the basis for the white light program that people see at their death when they are welcomed by the false representation of their loved ones. The terminal that everyone goes to during their departure from this reality.
Hold on, that's something that we've been talking about quite a bit recently. I forgot I'd even dabbled in this. There we go. Interesting.
This is nothing more than an afterlife program written by the false alien gods who control every one of us who lives on this planet. Wait, that's not correct. It's every one of us who lives on this plan ET. There we are. And just for reference sake, here is one example of them telling us this in one of their television programs. What does the Latin word coda mean? It means penis. And once you go through the alien white light program where you think you're going to be in heaven, you are simply being thrown back into the matrix again to be rebirthed. The first things are the last things. Here are a few biblical passages that tell us about our situation.
It does make me wonder, though, if we're not supposed to go towards the light to enter their matrix again, what is the alternative? It just ends it? Do we go to base reality? What's the alternative? What? I understand the negative of being eternally used as a resource in a suffering prison or whatever it is that this reality is. But what's the alternative? And why is it better than going to at least where, yes, we are in a suffering prison, but there's also a lot of joy and love and good experiences in this that I don't necessarily think are outweighed by the negative. It's a tough thing. I think overall the enjoyment factor for me personally has been greater than the negative. And maybe that's just me personally. But yeah, why end this? Why end the experience?
Once you are born again, your parents, or the pair that rents, hence pair rents, give you a name. They give you a name because you're going to be a nice sheep, you, that follows what the majority tells you to do, just like a good battery slave. When something disgusting happens, what do people say? Ew. This is because the alien gods see us as disgusting pigs who need to simply be slaughtered and used for food energy, which is all a divine comedy to them. Take out the letter S in slaughter, and you are left with laughter.
Interesting. I mean, framing it as a divine comedy for them kind of makes sense.
It's a divine comedy, like Dante wrote in his epic poem about hell, purgatory, and heaven. Since the Latin comedi literally means eat up, consume, devour, chafe. chafe? Yes, because chafing produces friction, which is what creates conduction for electric currents, and everyone is using the alien debt notes erroneously referred to as money, when in fact these are nothing more than a form of legal friction. Ever wonder why some people rub you the wrong way? Why do parents give you a name? Because a name is a name. Exactly the sound that a horse makes, which is why we live beside neighbors. Even when voting or voting for something, you will either give a yay or a nay to what is being presented. Think that's it for the horse connections? We've barely scratched the surface.
Etymology fits so well with puns, too.
Usually the parents will get married, because to be married is to be married, whereby mare is the Latin word for sea, as related to the body ship, and is by definition an adult female horse. A mare is also by English definition one of the large dark areas on the moon, which gives us one of the reasons for the word nightmare. All terror is born of the moon. The latter word split of eed from the phonetic mare-eed is a Dutch word that means oath and is phonetically pronounced to sound like eat. The moon gods that eat us. An oath is a divine promise, which is what marriage vows are set up as. Therefore, a marriage is a divine oath to the moon, made by the horse or phonetic horse, because we are made into the horse of Babylon, that babble on about X, to carry the electrical connections forward through sexual rebirth copulation. You will soon see why we need to keep saying X. Another anagram for horse is shore, because when you are birthed, you have reached the shoreline of this reality and given liberty. You do not have freedom. You have been given liberty, which is a short shore leave from naval duty. How are you connected in the womb matrix? Through the naval cord, because you are a seaman, sea-woman, who has reached shore by way of the horse of Babel on, through the sperm or sperm, called semen. All naval crew are called seamen, and if you're still laughing like you're in grade 2 over hearing this, you are literally laughing about yourself and the rest of humanity being used as food for the gods by getting us to constantly breed their daily bread for them. Their bread is humanity's bread, or newborn living fetus. Fetus is a phonetic tell, meaning feed us. Information like this is not meant for immature minds, which is probably why it has been so easy to hide from the majority.
Whoa.
A basic English synonym for copulation is sexual congress, because all statutes and acts written by Congress have to do with the control of the battery energy made by the sexual congress between the male and female. The male delivers the male into the female for the price of postage. It is delivered with postage because every new birth has been given a military office that is called a post. From your father's post to your mother's mailbox. There is so much hidden sexual innuendo in the languages that it truly is not funny, only disturbing. The contract of marriage, confirms the oath-taken promise to securitize the entire process. Once born, the child is told to celebrate their birthday from the moon by eating cake. Why cake? Because the Latin word placenta literally means cake, flat cake. And the placenta is the vascular structure in a woman's uterus that provides oxygen and nutrients to the fetus and transfers waste from it as well. This is where the popular expression, "you can't have your cake and eat it too," comes from, since the gods cannot use us as battery energy and eat us at the same time. The saying is also a paradox, but that's beside the point. When people eat cake on their birthday, they are consenting through ritualistic ceremony to their enslavement inside the Moon Matrix Rebirth battery program, where everyone is a docked biological battery placed inside their iPods while hooked up to individual placenta nozzles. The placenta nozzles that feed you, give you oxygen, and carry out your wastes. In this same context, what does the Latin word cervix mean when translated back into English? Neck, nozzle, spout, back of the neck. Exactly like the Matrix movie showed everyone. We are in service to the gods because we serve X, hence cervix.
Shit.
The prefix of the Latin placenta is the Latin word pla, which means X times is great, multiply by X, increase X-fold. X is the Roman numeral for the number 10, which is the 1 and 0 of the Matrix binary computational hologram reality that we find ourselves in. X is also the chromosome that is present in both sexes, singly in males and doubly in females. The post office delivers the male X into the double X box of the female to immaculately deliver another child. Why immaculately? Since everyone is separated by their iPods and living inside this hologram reality. We are all physically separated, and our pineal glands literally make this computerized dimension seem so real that basically no one would guess that it's not.
This is still so impressive to me. I don't care if it's real or not.
We connect with one another in the telepathic field of electricity consciousness. Our genetics, therefore, have to be stolen from us by the guardians of the garden, by having us imagine telepathically that we are congressing with one another. This is the worship of Satan, because Satan is Satan. X is the Roman numeral for 10, which is indicating the X chromosome. And once a male and female have delivered their belief in copulation to their Lord and Master, they both say 10. Once this occurs, the genetics from the couple are taken by the guardians, Smiths, and transferred into another biological form, which is then placed into their own iPod to continue the battery cycle. This is why love is evil, spelled backwards. Because we are the wards that have our energy sucked from our backs, hence the back wards. We live in this existence because X is tense. Why? Precisely because of Y. The Y chromosome that is bundled inside the male and is calling out to be released for a new lease on life, which is going to create another X tension cord in this matrix electric battery reality. X is the symbol used in electric terminology for the reactance expressed in ohms, and a Y is a three-phase, 4-wire electrical configuration where each individual phase is connected to a common point of the Y. This process of regeneration of the electric X and Y chromosome is perfectly symbolized in the Olympic Games relay race. A relay is an electrical device used to switch currents on and off between circuits, which is why life is a circus. The Latin word circus translates into English as racecourse, celebration of games, circle, orbit, which correlates with the relay race penis baton passing ceremony. The only way to be turned on is to receive the baton/penis, and there is a fresh recruit that is sent charging forward. Another basic definition of relay is a fresh crew sent in to relieve another crew of workers. Everyone living right now is charging forward to their death to pass on their baton energy to keep the X tense ion cord connected and our electrical human battery charge moving along. Since we are separated in our iPods, the congress and sexual acts between us humans has to be pronounced through our telepathic and telekinesis belief systems, which is where a fax/telephone call is sent to the gods by telling them that we believe in Satan.
What?
The moon is the craft that is being sent to rescue the next recruitment of souls, which is why Freemasonry is called the craft. This is all about the regeneration of the dead sun/sun. What does the Freemasonic G actually mean in their symbol? It is derived from the Greek letter gamma, which produced the letters C and G. The English letter G in the word Sol translate into Greek as this word, which is pronounced as Sol. Sol is the sun, but not the yellow sun in the sky that everyone is familiar with. It is the dead sun of the left-hand path, as shown in the Turkish language, where Sol translates into the Turkish word Sol, which translates into English as left, Sol, So, and G. The letter G in the English alphabet is the 7th letter, connecting with the aspect of the sacred number 7.
This is so much. I was kind of hoping to get in a little bit more into the Freemasonry.
The Greek letter gamma was a significant choice, seeing that the sun leaves gamma rays. The Greek gamma was furthermore derived from the Phoenician letter known as gimel, which was written like this. This is another basis for the square of Freemasonry, as well as the logo of NASA, which presents the gimel a little more artistically. There is no doubt that there is a dead sun that we are feeding and providing our energy towards to be resurrected, as detailed in countless mythological stories, such as Isis and Osiris, let alone every religious story that humanity has worshipped for countless millennia. The dead sun/son of Jesus. Is this dead sun Saturn? Not necessarily, and this is what I will be proving out as we progress through this occult knowledge. The Freemasonic story of Chiram building the Temple of Solomon has everything to do with this, since it is really the sun that is being recharged through the repetition of the sexual reconnections and rebirth processes that take our plasma energy to keep Sol on through our electrical ohms. Thus, we have Sol Ohm on. Isis is the Omega, and Osiris is the Alpha male. Alpha and Omega. The Omega phonetic is indicating the human form in our iPod eggs, producing the electrical ohms of battery electricity for the alien ETs. The Greek Omega literally means Great O, and in phonetics, this letter is pronounced in ancient Greek as a long open mid-vowel. It is why there is, in timekeeping terminology, an O before the word clock, such as 1 o'clock, and is also used in reference to the moon construct with jack-o'-lantern. A jack is a plug used to make an electrical connection. The religious chant of Om is pronounced in exactly the same way as Om. To keep Sol on, we need to continue our religious belief in this matrix reality and continue to give our sexually charged electrical ohms to erect the fires of the dragon once again. It's a dragon because we continue to drag on the extension cord so the dead sun can remain plugged in. This is also how we are plugged into this existence, because essentially no one can stop the sexual cycle featuring the X chromosome from happening within themselves. It's literally a perfect trap, most especially because it sounds so crazy to nearly everyone that everything said here is either ignored, scoffed at, or met with anger and hostility. If not those things, This information, perhaps, is simply misunderstood.
And that's the beauty of it all. It's all so unbelievable, literally hard to believe, that if it were to be true, it would be perfectly capable of hiding in plain sight. Because nobody believes this. That is, I should say, very few people believe this. It's so deep, it's so massive, it's so complex. It's hard to believe. It's not only hard to believe, it's hard to wrap our minds around at all. To fully wrap our minds around the length of this, the complexity of this, the vastness of what this encompasses. I don't think people would want to believe it by how much goes into what this would encompass.
Continuing with our rebirth, the egg inside a womb man is the literal representation of the moon, which is the reason that a womb man's moonstral/menstrual cycle is coordinated with the orbit of the moon. The prefix of mens from menstrual is a Latin word meaning mind, plan, intention, pointing out that the copulation is immaculately done within the framework of our minds, since we are all separated by our iPods. It is also a plan, because we live on this plan ET. The lost semen that are discharged make an electrical connection with the moon and then receive rescue from the savior light of Jesus, who fishes out the semen from the torment of the electric sea. Here is a quote from Jesus.
And Jesus said unto them, Come ye after me, and I will make you to become fishers of men. Mark 1:17.
What does the Latin word sus mean? A kind of fish. Therefore, Jesus is a kind of fish. Man is born in sin, which is the moon, and the anatomy shows this, with the semen being born inside the moon egg. To correlate with the religious teachings, je from Jesus is French for I, and sus is Latin for a kind of fish. The semen that are being fished out by the all-seeing eye of Jesus. Why? Because the meaning of life is why, where we are birthed by the alien mothership moon, by believing we are born through a human mother and her hips, seeing that an anagram for ship is hips. Returning to the marriage oath, in a marriage ceremony or ceremony, there is the groom, which is by definition in English, a horse groomer. What about the bride? This is linked by going to the Old English word team, that meant descendant, family, race, line, and brood, which came out of the Old Frisian word tam, for bridal, progeny, line of descent. To brood something is to sit on eggs to hatch them, and the bride is getting bridled by the groom to create more children, which she will have to brood in her womb, so that the egg will hatch and create another fetus. A bridle, of course, is headgear put on a horse to control it. In most cultures, men feel like they have the dominant position in life simply because the words being used carry this energetic intention. Everyone on this planet is being controlled by these words and spellings because it truly is a spell. The spellings that spell out this nightmare for us in our life sentence while being written in cursive by the controllers of this story, because it is a curse against all of us. Did you think that you lived on a planet? No, you live on Plan ET. The ETs or extraterrestrials who take your life and plan it and plane it right down to the finest detail. This is what you consider a normal life, because the word normal comes etymologically from the Latin word norma, which means carpenter's square. Remember, it is the Freemasons who say that everything for everyone must be made fair and square. What is fair? By definition, it's food that is regularly consumed, and a square is also food, thus 3 squares a day. It is also a fair, because this is a circus, which was the Latin word for circle and orbit. A square is also an English verb that means to turn the oar while rowing, since we are the Latin neo that is being spun and weaved while we row through this existence while we are awake. What is awake? A track that is left by a ship when it travels in water, but is also someone who keeps watch over a corpse before it is buried. What is a watch? A device that keeps time. And in astrology, this would be known as the god Kronos, which is the embodiment of Saturn, hence chronological time. That is because Saturn is where the urn is sat. That's why the Sabbath is on Saturn Day, the last day of the 7-day week, and where the dead or debt of sin is buried. Kronos is always depicted as eating his children, because we are the children in the attic of the moon who get sent to Saturn after we die to get eaten, because right now we are in the Garden of Eden. Going back a little bit, why is a marriage called a ceremony? Ceremony. Sera is the Latin word for lock, and is cognate with the Latin serum, that means late and slow in that language. When a woman conceives a child and first becomes pregnant, she misses her period, and therefore she states that she is late. A period that is missed to begin a new life sentence. In English, serum is known as the watery fluid of blood that resembles plasma, but contains what is known as fibrinogen. As also connected with the moon, the Italian word sera means evening, night, and vesper, while vesper in Latin translates as evening star, evening meal, indicating the moon and the food of the gods. The Turkish word sera means conservator, forcing house, greenhouse. This is what brooding an egg does. It forces the living being inside to hatch faster so that it can be used for food more quickly by that which is farming it. The farmers of humanity are convincing everyone to produce another fetus because the god farmers are saying that humans need to feed us. Feed us is phonetically feed us. It is not the Garden of Eden, it is the Garden of Eden. And Earth is the forcing house that makes this process happen much more quickly. And besides, what else would someone produce in a garden? The etymologists have not been fair with their assessment of where the word garden was derived, and here are some more blatant and factual connections. Garden goes back to the Indo-European languages, starting with the words ger and gerd, meaning to grasp and to enclose, and the term gardo, for an enclosed land, yard, or garden. This went into the Avestan and Old Persian languages as zar, meaning to harm, and ahzarah, for oppressed. The Greek language was given these terms, and from them got the word orus, meaning an enclosed dancing group, yet also the words ronos and chronos, for that which encloses all things, or time. The Latin language twisted the Greek chronos into the word chronicus that went into the French word chronique and gave the English language chronic, chronicle, chronological, and chronometer. That's not all. From the Indo-European ger and gerd, the Germanic languages, including English, acquired the words yard, orchard, garden, and kindergarten. Yes, you are sending all of your children or kin to kindergarten, otherwise known as the kinder garden. If there is a kinder garden, there is also a not so kind one, as displayed by the etymology of us being oppressed and harmed while being enclosed by time. the chronological time of Chronos, Saturn.
So I think my question was answered on what the alternative is, because if this is the case, I definitely don't necessarily want to continue this. This all seems very horrible. It basically, it does seem to extrapolate how further they are using us, not only just our individual selves, but our complete existence, our programming, our usefulness, our lineage. This is all really, really heavy. And while it does seem plausible, I do believe that this is one of those things in life where it's about as true as you want to make it. And if you want to continue diving down the rabbit hole, you can essentially tear off the ignorance, the ignorant bliss. When you dive down too many rabbit holes, you can start learning things that can really alter the way you perceive things, and that's always the gamble that you take. It really depends on how you want to approach life. If you want to learn as many things as you can, which I advise and I do myself, you have to understand that it comes with some consequences, and some things cannot be unlearned. But as far as this documentary, I do believe that it's, regardless of whether or not this is factual, some of it, all of it, none of it, whatever it may be, it does seem like Kyron, I believe the creator's name, he has a talent for stringing these things together that make it seem plausible and interesting. And that is enough for a lot of people. So I look at it exactly what it is, as exactly as I said. You know, there may be little bits of, you know, golden nuggets of truth in there that can really be taken with you in life and used to enhance your life. And in general, it's an impressive ability to analyze the etymology and the phonics of different words like that. And it could be entirely possible that every single thing that we're saying is creating an incantation or a spell of some kind that reverberates throughout all of existence. It's entirely possible. If we spend too much time worrying about these things and the ramifications of them, I think it can kind of detract from a lot of the more pressing matters here and now, or just on a grand scale. So I just look at the video as an interesting look at somebody that has an ability to see something that may or may not be there. I'm going to leave that up to you on the legitimacy of this. So what do you think, guys? Is this something deep? Is this real? Is this authentic? Let me know down below. Either way, I'm going to wrap it up right there for now. I want to thank you guys all so much for tuning in. You are appreciated. Remember to question everything, always, including me. I'll see you guys all next time. Cheers.